Hi everyone, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. We're going to zoom right into the 15-minute chart today. So this essentially is the price action following the data points which we had the other day, earlier in the week, yesterday. And essentially what we tried to do, before the data points came out in the United States, the inflation data, which came in at 2.7%, which is really good for crypto, actually. That's very surprising, is below expectations, but the market has to settle first. Now, prior to the data point on Wednesday, we did have an attempt to break above resistance, but essentially it failed, and we ran into the 4-hour 200 MA, and if I switch it back to the 4-hour, you can see we kind of tapped it perfectly here. There it is, excuse me. We tapped it perfectly here and then got rejected. So that was essentially just a bearish retest of sorts, as opposed to a real attempt to break higher. There's a lot of resistance overhead, as you can see. So we've got resistance here, we've got resistance here, we've got resistance here. So it's pretty high traffic overhead in terms of sellers at the moment. So we are now in a macro downtrend, if we can draw a channel of sorts like this, right, just to highlight that. And this, of course, suggests that if we can't break out of this pattern, despite probabilities, of course, that it might to the upside at some point, we have to presume on the back of this lower high, that's a lower high compared to that one, that we're going to be coming back down here like this. Now, if something like that happens, right, that'll be pretty good, because then we start to get our lower high on the higher time frames. So, you know, a dip down to here, like we just highlighted, that would be a higher low compared to that one, and that maybe that's the helpful kind of reversal play which we need to move upwards. Now, I would expect a deeper retrace closer to around 82k, and you probably should too, but nonetheless, you know, this is the pattern which we're playing in at the moment, and maybe this could be a tradable range. But what we do need to see from Bitcoin, of course, we do need to find its feet over the next couple of days, over the weekend, heading into the holiday season. And we need to make sure, of course, we break this trend, because we are now, even though we're in a macro uptrend for a good few weeks, now we're in a macro downtrend. And that means we're pretty much heading to this entry zone. So until you see a break above 92k, which is essentially where the point of control is here, right? Until we see a break above that, which would represent Bitcoin getting above this resistance area, and this moving average, etc., and the 4-hour 200 MA, which is somewhere around here, then you have to presume we're coming back down into our ideal entry zone as we approach 81k. The key thing is, as we said, when we do get to that entry zone, we don't want it to dip lower than this previous swing low, because that would, of course, be bearish, giving us a lower low, and that would mean we might be coming down to 75 to 73k. So it's a waiting game at the moment for Bitcoin, but we could see on the back of the CPI data, we could see a break above here over the next few days. And if you do, then you'll, of course, want to let Bitcoin find its feet first. So if you see something like this, don't necessarily immediately look to come in on the flip side, right? Because it's a bit of a complicated picture, because look, 89k is actually still within the pattern. So really what you want to see is, you want to see Bitcoin come up, you want to see it really find its feet, sit around, maybe put in a W pattern, and then you can start to look to come in once it's established itself, as opposed to the price action just doing this and then coming straight back down again, which Bitcoin admittedly likes to do. But this pattern which we're in on the 15-minute chart, again, just to highlight, probabilities do suggest it will break to the upside at some point, but right now it looks like we may have a deeper retrace closer to around 83, 82k at the bottom end of this pattern. But these are the lines to watch for Bitcoin.